Okay, we got Brett C. Banfe back with us today. We got the BSV Hackathon, bsvhackathon.com that just wrapped up down there in Austin, Texas with the Babbage team. And, Kurt Walker Jr. from CoinGeek was doing shows down there, recordings. Looks like they got a winner from what I'm seeing on X. And so definitely excited to hear, everything from what happened at the hackathon from your perspective, Brett. So good to see you, buddy. How you been?
Hey guys, hey Gavin, thanks so much for having me on, man. Happy to be back on the show. I'm thrilled. The energy down here, it's amazing. Awesome was a really wonderful place. We've been eating barbecue all weekend long. So we had Terry Black's the first day, we had Rudy's today. It's been tremendous.
Nice. Yeah. So I had a couple spaces with Ty from Babbage. Two of them, I interviewed him once, and then I really talked to some quality people about this, guys who were going, and I've heard a lot about it. So, all right. So take us inside this hackathon. Like maybe give a little background on I guess what is a hackathon, first of all? Maybe like take us down to the basics to start with, and then we can go back towards the result at the end. So stay tuned for the end, everybody, to see how it all went. So yeah, what is the hackathon, the purpose of it, and take a stop from the start.
Yeah, sure. So a hackathon, and you can do it in a couple different ways. So the emphasis on this hackathon was about being in person. You can do virtual hackathons, but effectively everyone gathers in a common space. They get a set of defined rules. So they, in this case, they had 22 hours to code something from scratch. The projects that were being built through the Babbage tech stack, which is open source tooling on BSV blockchain. So it's how to abstract the innate capabilities of BSV, which are things like micropayments, data integrity, provenance, identity solutions, message storage, things like this, and how do we use those for a next generation of application development? And so one of the ways that we do that is we build solutions that are built through the hackathon. So you have various different teams that are competing against each other. We had people as far away as Ireland who joined, and actually they're right behind me at that on the patio with me. We're having a celebratory session here at the pub just down the street. So it's been great. Lots of different teams competing. And it's a common goal. They're oftentimes extremely passionate about BSV. But what we found at this hackathon was that it wasn't just teams that had experience with BSV, but really teams that were being pulled in and roped in with brand new experience, brand new first time developing on BSV. And we'll get to some of the newer players that actually were able to win the hackathon. But yeah, it's really wonderful, especially, there's benefits to a virtual hackathon because you're able to include so many more people. And I think that the emphasis is that there will be those in the future. But for this specific event, being in person was really nice. And when I polled the audience about what was valuable about being in person, some of these different projects, they were building tools that touched on some previously developed things within the BSV space. So, for example, how are they using one-sat ordinals, or how are they tagging information in certain ways? And everything that from the Project Babbage team with Braden, with Ty Everett, with Mike, with Tone, and with Jackie. Shout out to all of them. And as well, we had the Gorilla Pool team there who had developed and built one-set ordinals. Oftentimes when someone was running into an issue or a problem with like, hey, how do I get this to work with my application? Instead of emailing or typing or saying, trying to get into the queue to get a question answered, they could just turn around and tap the guy behind them on the shoulder and just say, like, hey, what did you mean when you built this messaging app? And so there's this commonality that comes from being in person that was really electric. There was about 15 to 20 teams that competed. The output of that was truly tremendous.
Wow. So all right, that's kind of a lot. You had 15 to 20 teams. I mean, that's a pretty good size amount. So okay, so like if I'm a contestant, if I'm one of the teams, seems like the way I understand it is like I'm trying to build something that could potentially go to market as a product, as a business in the near future, or actually maybe like in 48 hours. It sounds like in like a cramped session. I'm trying to build something, or at least a proof of concept of something. So how does that work? Is it a proof of concept or is it an actual product? I mean, what is the goal of that?
I mean, you can start always with the proof of concept. And for those out there that, missed this chance at this hackathon, there will be future hackathons. This one had $64,000 worth of prizes that were distributed today. It was billed as only having $55,000 for the prizes. So originally, that was the amount that was supposed to be distributed. But at the last second, $9,000 came in basically recognition of how awesome the contributions were from the community. So yeah, you are, always able to start with a proof of concept. And I want to put this out there to the community and to the audience that, some of the people that were contributing, they don't have necessarily the deepest knowledge of BSV. Some people were only 2 weeks in. In fact, the winner had only learned about BSV 2 weeks ago. So they didn't have a deep experience with the chain itself, but that's what's happening as more and more tooling is being developed, as more and more emphasis is being put on an open source strategy for the ecosystem. What you're getting is that more and more of the experience and the values that have been developed by our OG community, our OG dev community, they're able to get extrapolated out by these newer developers, and they don't have to have a deep understanding of things like Bitcoin and Bitcoin scripts and things like this. They can be using just an ordinary language like TypeScript that they're very familiar with, they're very used to, and they can be standing up models that represent digital identity. And we have a lot of examples that were deployed today that were just taking simple applications and they were just cloning those into new repos, and they were augmenting them in unique ways. One of the ones that I really loved was a group that was called SBM, and I believe they won third place, and they were building a small business toolbox kit. So, okay, you're a small business that wants to start selling tacos on the street or something right away. How do you get started with that? So you can use their toolbox kit. You can spin up a wallet address. You can begin accepting payments on that address. You can use the messaging features of BSV to amplify information about where you're located, and then when it comes to reviews, you can issue certificates. And this was one of the unique parts of the Project Babbage tech stack that was the sponsor of the event. So Babbage has built these implementations called Cool Certs. Cert is short for certificate, so look that up if you are interested in kind of delving into how to use these in your own application development. But a cool certificate, it is, use the example of, attestations to certain attributes.
Like notary
So
attestations, for example?
not
Are you saying
notaries.
like a Whitney, like a witness of something, or a
Exactly,
timestamp
more
of
like a
something?
witness, more like a
Okay.
witness. So I've been in a room with Gavin before. I know that he's a cool guy, so I can certify as someone that has personal experience that Gavin's a cool guy. So that's why they're called cool certs, because the
Oh,
original example of it is to use it to certify that someone that is cool, and so but obviously cool is just used as an example. You can certify anything. You can certify that someone went to a specific university, that someone has a doctorate degree, that someone has checked out a specific library or a book at the library. And in this example, the small business toolkit certifies that the person actually purchased a product. In this case, they were using the example of buying a bicycle. So the ability to leave a review about the bicycle shop is dependent on having a certificate that says that you're an actual authentic customer of that shop. So we've seen some of the problems with the internet, which is just the fact that it's free, open. When really in reality you are the product. that leads to all these misaligned incentives where now people can, because it's free to leave a review on a bicycle shop, maybe the competing shop, they leave a bunch of negative reviews about a shop that actually is, really well regarded in the community, et cetera. So that wouldn't be possible in this new application building because, in order to actually leave an authentic review, you would actually have to have a certificate that emphasizes that you were an actual customer. So a lot of the Project Babbage tech stack, if I had to summarize it for people, it is that instead of you authenticating to applications by, creating a login, creating a password, et cetera, instead you have sort of a sovereignty, an online digital sovereignty, and the applications themselves are authenticating to you. And only if you have, the sufficient credentials for that interaction, and likewise, vice versa, only if they have the sufficient credentials for interaction with you can the transmission actually take place.
All right, so like a small business. I mean, I have a friend who who has had this problem in a home development. They do home developers. It's like ADU developments, and the competitor came and they wrote all sorts of bad fake reviews about them to mess their business up, and they were totally fake from just fake accounts. I mean, they weren't real customers at all. So like, how would this be a solution? Like, how could this be? Look, this is where you see the true reviews about our business over here. Don't look at that fake website. How would that work?
Yeah, so the way that it works is in order to post that review, there's a sort of like a check that happens where, there's an authentication, phase, and that is determined by the ability to control that certificate. The certificate just confirms that you have the experience that would allow you to leave a review. If you don't have the certificate that comes with the purchase of the product, then you can't leave a review of the product. And so, this solves some very real problems that happen with things being free online, because it really ties things back to their economic incentives. So maybe in the case of the example that you brought up, where there's a competing agency that wants to leave these bogus reviews. In order to do that, they would have to purchase or have some sort of way of authenticating that they were an actual customer X numbers of times, at least one time for each review, and that costs money, right? So when the incentives to share information are free, what you get is this incentive to sort of overload and spam the network with useless information, and it becomes hard to sort that information as a as a person that is looking to use the reviews to determine whether or not it would be valuable to go with one product versus another. And so this really solves that by and it's just one of the examples, but there was really so many examples of brilliant products out there. It's one way to employ the tech stack of Project Babbage, which is again open source, so it allows for maybe this is just the output of one single weekend of BSV developers focusing on this, but the idea is that as we create better and better solutions that solve real problems with the internet, what you have is you have a greater and greater growth and expansion of the user base. And economics incentives, micropayments, all of these things really are just tools for a better and more more equitable internet.
All right, nice. That's really helpful. So it seems like somebody could use that to where, like, if I had a friend who wanted to get that, he could send that link out to his new customers. Look, here's where you see the genuine reviews of my business here. These are all former customers here. You could authenticate it, certify it. Seems like that would be a great solution. All right, so now tell me, some of these other products that were really, I would say, what are they? Proof of concepts. So the teams, what were the teams building?
Yeah, so again, it was 22 hours. We began on Saturday at 1 p.m. And all the video content is online, so it's worth checking that out. Just a lot of the content is going to be just developers at, in their workbooks working, but, you can watch the beginning when there's an overview, and you can watch the presentation at the end when the awards were given, et cetera. But, really this was about, this was the first step in a long journey, Gavin. We heard whispers, nothing confirmed, but we heard whispers that there could be a hackathon as early as this coming July, to keep the momentum going and what's being developed here. Because again, every single project that was developed in this space, they were all developed open source. So all of the code is public. Anyone, even if you've never heard of BSV, like I said, some people had only heard of it from 2 weeks ago. Now you can take this code, you can fork it, and you can decide, you know what? I don't like this specific feature that they developed over here. I'm going to change it. And, they were using this technology, but I prefer that technology. And now all of a sudden you have your own, business that you're up and running, and you're accepting payments, you're providing value to the network. Next, theoretically, we have another one of these next July. That's what I'm hearing. And that was being proposed to potentially be in Oregon, which is the Project Babbage headquarters. Again, they're the ones that put the $64,000 up, so I really want to give kudos to them. They also did a great job of leading up to the event with specific online documentation sessions where they were, Ty was making himself available for 2, 3, 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours, going over, here's how you download the MetaNet desktop client. Here's how you connect the wallet client to the MetaNet desktop. Here's how you run the NPX, at BSV/app, just to get some, example, demo apps to show you what's possible with these tools. And so, one of the most exciting parts of this, I have to give a shout out to our friend. I think we all know him as Archie. If you've ever been to
Archie,
a BSV event, you've met Archie. And, I have to say, Archie's a quiet guy. He's a guy that sort of stands in the back a little bit. He's a military guy, so I want to thank him for his service and everything. He is, someone that is true blue. He's really in this for the right reasons, the right values. He sees the big picture of what's possible here. But I've also never witnessed any of his code or anything like that. He ended up taking second place. He won $15,000. And what he did was he built a browser into the MetaNet desktop client. Again, you can look at the Project Babbage, stack. You can reach out to Ty on X for more information about how to deploy your own version of the MetaNet desktop wallet. But Archie put a browser like Brave or Chrome or something like that. He built it into the MetaNet desktop. So basically what you can do is now you can navigate different web pages. And when it's requesting a cookie or to install a cookie on your browser or on your computer, that, if it's a necessary cookie and it has to be there for an operation to function, then it gets auto installed. But if it's a superfluous cookie, like we've all seen with the GDPR stuff, then it will prompt the issuer for a payment. So it says, okay, I'll accept your cookie. You want to put a marketing cookie in my browser? Sure, it's $1.25. You want to pay me $1, and you can figure out, what are my interests, my hobbies, and this, that, and the other. So it's a payment incentive mechanism for the willingness to allow cookies to be installed. And one of the unique parts about this hackathon, Gavin, that I think that you would really appreciate is that we had, one of the judges was from an equity venture capital and an innovation lab. His name was Rob Burnett, I think, or Bennett. I think it's actually Rob Bennett. And, so he was really looking at, what is the commercial viability of your product? It's not just about how technically, bells and whistles and stuff like that. He's really looking at, can we bring this to market and can we create real customer demand? So I love that. And, when you're looking at what he asked this great question, he just said, okay, so let's just say that I have 1,000 users that visit the website and 500 are visiting from this browser that's, has a wallet installed, and 500 are just visiting, through a normal browser like Safari or something like that. So you're saying that all the users that are coming from Safari, the advertiser would just naturally get that data. But let's just say that they are in a pinch. Maybe they're trying to meet a deadline and they need more data, right? So now they say, okay, well, we only have, these 500 that we got for free just by, installing it sort of in the back end. Now should we actually spend some of our advertising budget that we were planning for this quarter and actually purchase the rest of the cookie information, right? So what you're seeing is that users are actually being paid to go and to do this various different web traffic because, of course, the advertisers are using that to monetize it down the road. But in this example, at least the user is getting a slice of that pie, and they're also able to set the bar as far as how much of that pie they want. So that one was the one that won second. I actually honestly thought that could win first. And, I think that everyone that has ever met Archie, if you've ever been in a room with him or if you've interacted with him on the MetaNet ICU Slack channel or through X or whatever, we were all just absolutely thrilled for him. He's a very stoic guy, so he cracked a smile briefly, but that was about it. But yeah, the person who won the event is someone that learned about BSV about 2 weeks ago. His name was Ishan. And he found the event through Mitch Burnham. I think he was on your channel not that long ago talking about the Bank of International Settlements and the Mandala Network. And he was proposing and debuting the MetaWatt project. So Mitch brought on this guy Ishan, and he came up with this novel concept called Get Paid, so GIT and then paid, and it's a way for open source projects, like obviously the ones that we're talking about right now, all these are open source. What they can do is they can list an issue or a feature request, similar to what we saw with Twetch back in the day. If you remember, end-to-end encrypted messaging, that was a feature request that was purchased through the community. So this would be a way to do a very similar model where there is, paid feature support requests for open source developers, where the developers are getting the majority, if not all, of the funds that are being committed to actually building out those features. So that was really exciting as well, because at the end of the day, first of all, he had learned about BSV 2 weeks ago. He spun that up in 22 hours, and he got it working with SPV. He got it working with all of these fundamental components of BSV that have been sort of being built in the background. And only now are we seeing them sort of walked out into the public. And the important part, especially from the association side, is that they're being walked out behind an open source strategy. So an imperative to continue to develop the ecosystem, to expand our developer pool, and to ensure that they're financially supported.
Yeah, so Get Paid, this new company that Ishan, this new idea that Mitch's friend Ishan, it sounds like he brought forward. So what would the value add be for a consumer if I wanted to use it? What do I get out of it?
Yeah, so this is definitely geared towards developers because what you would be doing is you would be submitting pull requests and commits to a specific repo. So effectively, it uses the same model that we were talking about before, where you're using a cool certification, right? So just like I attested that you're cool, maybe Ishan is attesting that I'm the owner of the repository on GitHub for the BSV library, stack, maybe the the TypeScript stack or something like that. And I want some unique features, maybe smart contract features. I mean, they already exist on there, but imagine that, I'm envisioning something that hasn't been developed yet that I would like developed. So maybe instead of me funding a hackathon and $20,000 and saying, hey, I'll take the best example of this that can do this. Instead, maybe I put $20,000 just as a smart contract, that's built directly into fulfilling that specific function for my application. And
so
anyone that
bounty,
commits it can do it.
Bounty.
Yes, it's exactly a bounty.
This I remember hearing something about this when they did a bounty with David Case a long time ago regarding I think it was for locking. And David Case was saying, hey, there was a bounty out there for X amount of dollars on 50,000. It was a lot of money, like 50,000 or something, 25,000. And David's like, I can do a locking on, I can figure that out. And he did it and he won the bounty apparently, but it was just more of a handshake bounty. You're saying it would be a smart contract.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just paid, and it's using these certifications. So, and it's using so in order for the repo owner to commit the code, and merge the pull request, they have to pay the developer for their submitted work. So yeah, basically, and the key way that this isn't just a game changer when it comes to just BSV. I mean, of course, it obviously is a game changer for BSV, and that's why it's the number one winner. And I think it was a toss up between him and Archie. Archie had a brilliant concept as well, and I think both are going to get a big boost in development with these funds, the 30,000 and 15,000 that they're getting respectively for winning first and second place. But this is not just a game changer for BSV. It is a game changer for all open source development, because now, especially with the introduction of tools like money and things like this, where you can have an actual US dollar stable coin, you could theoretically be committing, you can change the game in terms of how development is being done, because, up until this point, open source is really being built out by devs out of the goodness of their heart. They want to see a feature themselves. Maybe they're a customer of a specific product, and maybe they're saying, "Oh, I always wished that I could have end-to-end encrypted chat messaging on Twitch or something like that. I always wish that I could be able to have, once at ordinal type of protocol built on BSV, but obviously developers, it takes time, it takes resources, to build this stuff. So now what you can actually do is you can sort of, create a honeypot for developers, where you're saying, okay, these are the products, these are the features that we're prioritizing, this is what we're looking to emphasize, this is how much of a budget we have, and it doesn't have to be just a tool set that's being used to build open source, BSV tooling. It can actually be used by, the major application developers in all open source coding. So I think this has the potential to go viral in the developer community as a way to monetize open source development.
Nice. All right. So yeah, it sounds like I saw Kevin. I saw Kevin was there from Money. The guys were there. I saw some shirts about Money. So, I'm wondering about like how, yeah, how that's going to play. We got this. Well, I guess you're saying there's a new stable coin there. It's built on Bitcoin, on like the layer, the base layer. So, and it's super cheap. I mean, maybe you could like explain Money a little bit, because from your point of view, because it's so new and I haven't even really got a chance to use it yet. So maybe you can like explain that, and then start
Yeah.
from there. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So Money is a stablecoin project. It's not just on BSV. It is also on an ERC20 token, and I think it's traded on Ascendex exchange. So, ASCENDX.com, I think, as the ERC20 version of that. And yeah, so it's also deployed on BSV, and so the nice part about its BSV deployment is that there's no gas fees. So what you have is, for the first time, a US dollar stable token that's able to be transacted and transmitted, right on BSV rails. So you're getting all of the benefits of immutability, of low fees, and finality, instant finality, things like that. Everything that you've come to expect from BSV, you're just getting that, but it's denominated in USD. And the teams that have collaborated to build this, I believe it is being built out on the one-side ordinals protocol in combination with the S-Script team, Xiaowei Liu, and this is what that means is that anything that I think you can do with S-Script, which is, basically you can't name a more flexible, a more feature-rich set of tools for accomplishing anything under the sun that you want to accomplish. That's DeFi, that's NFTs, that's stateful contracts, that's anything that is the leading cutting edge of blockchain technology, of Bitcoin, BSV. and even anything that any of these other chains can do, such as EVM style contracts, this can all be done with a U.S. dollar denomination now, using the tooling that is available through these various different features, and all the money tools. All that is just that it is allowing it to be built through an integration that allows for controls in the case that, because it is truly money. That's why it's called money. You still have to have those controls for the appeasement of regulators and things like this, the appeasement of the settlement with the banking layer and things like this. So what you're having is you're having the cake and eating it too, Gavin. You're really having the flexibility of blockchain underneath, and you're having the familiarity of the stable coin at the top layer, and you're doing that with, I believe it's like a multi-signature concept where money as the issuer is able to co-sign any of these money transactions. And so this allows for things like if someone was found out to be sort of like a terrorist or something like that, then you can sort of shut that account down, et cetera, or restrict funds in that regard. And that's required because you are working with money. There are laws to the real world, but really what you're getting is you're getting everything. You're getting compliance as a service, you're getting banking as a service, you're getting stable coins as a service, you're getting blockchain as a service, you're getting all of the flexibility and fungibility of fiat on blockchain rails.
Yeah, super exciting, man. We got the stablecoin, all these bounties and these projects can now be done in USD, all US dollars now, it sounds like. So it's not just like in a BSV price, it's going to be in a US dollar price with money. So that's phenomenal. So, all right, what about what else is exciting that you were really pumped about? I invited Mitch on. It looks like he's not going to make it, but I definitely want to hear what Mitch was up to with MetaWatt. I know he sounds like he was there. Anything you could share with what he's doing? He's doing some, seems like, really big things. So.
Yeah, so MetaWatt gave an absolutely killer presentation, and I encourage everyone to check that project out, metawatt.io, I believe, and or you can reach out to me on X at Manifestable, and I can connect you. But yeah, it's really about price discovery of energy, and it's genius. It's it's the ability to get down to the nitty gritty in terms of where energy is coming from, which energy is coming from renewable sources, which is not, and in many cases there's a high demand for this automatic data reporting, and this granular certificates that indicate the metadata of energy, essentially. And so I think the big vision for Mitch and MetaWatt is that at the end of the day, we will probably see in our lifetimes, the largest, validators and miners on the blockchain network are going to eventually become these giant energy companies, because, they are the ones that have the most invested in basically certifying, energy consumption and energy production and energy, storage, especially with the ability to the advancements that we're seeing in battery technology, and the ability to, maybe there's going to be a price arbitrage between energy that comes from, a coal mine or something like that, and the energy that's being built off of these solar panels, and maybe that energy can be distributed once it's certified through these these storage units and the metadata that's associated with that. Well, when you have a completely free-form world where nothing can be certified or no one's data can be trusted, right? It's the energy company says this, but of course they're going to say that because they want to charge a higher higher rate for their energy. So why wouldn't they say that it came from green energy when in actuality it never did? What you're seeing is that the ability to get to the granular certificate level on not just a megawatt hour basis, but on, like a 10 to 15 minute energy cycle basis, what you're seeing is that you can actually granularize and build an arbitrage market for the energy sector. And when you see that, what you're going to see is that that there is consumer demand for certain kinds of energy, and some of these consumer demands, they're coming in the form of mandates, but there's also consumer demands that come from just specific interests. Like I only want my toaster to toast with green energy, right? And I'm willing to pay a premium to ensure that that's the case. And so it's one of those things where it solves the problem of the intersection of sort of the top down approach of sort of it's our way or the highway. You have to build your energy solutions in this way because we've determined this is the compliant way, and also the bottom up approach, which is that the free market, the open market, actually values this in a way. And what do they value it at? Do they value it at a 10% multiplier? Do they value it at a 15% multiplier? We don't know because we don't have real data on that. So metawatt is the ability to justify the actual arbitrage market for the disparity in the energy production and the energy consumption.
Mm. Man, some fascinating stuff. I mean, I really look at this. Hopefully I can share kind of my perspective on like why I'm here and how I look at this, So, coming from like initially, of course, like any boomer, you come in like, oh, trading and the price going up and all that. But once the rug got pulled out for me enough times, and I realized I didn't know anything about trading, and I, of course, I thought I did, but you do well and you think you're doing great, and then you have something like Terra Luna happen. You realize, okay, you really have no idea what you're doing. Then you start to realize, okay, I'm on like a 15-year plan right now. I'm not on this. I really don't care about tomorrow. Like I really don't. I could care less. I'm here for the 15-year plan. And I want to do as much value as much as I can to help. People like you and Metawatt and a whole industry to like really get onto that 15-year. For me, that's 50. I mean, I obviously there are lots going to happen way before that, but that's my long-term vision of like true domination, of true like complete takeover and world-changing effect. Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, I think it's going to be a lot sooner than that, but I'm just saying I want to just keep focused on that vision because 15 years goes by faster than people, like a lot of these, 20-year-old kids, they don't realize that. But like, as you get like our age, Brett, we might realize that 15 years actually will pass pretty reasonably fast. And so we start like just keeping our head down and focusing on I almost consider it short term, 15 years, so, the short term vision, and this is going to be absolutely huge, man. I mean, we're going to be living in a whole different world at that point. And here we are at basically at the very beginning. You're right there on the ground. So yeah.
Yeah. And we're in a hub right here, Austin, Texas. I mean, we had some brilliant people that were at the event that were a little bit more on the newer side to BSV. One of the people specifically, they were they run like a giant firm that is like the Internet Archive, effectively for Silicon Valley. So they're archiving, services for a multitude of government agencies and companies across the world. And it's really ironic because they're just there just as friends of friends, right? So this is something that you talk about all the time, Gavin, and I really want to give you credit for, but it's about relationship capital. Okay, so we're all trying to build this better world. In fact, another person that was at the event that it was really exciting to see was the head of the entire Libertarian Party for the entire state of Texas. We had the chair there. and really talking to us about the ability to use this technology. It's not just about an absorptive economy that is coming in and trying to siphon away money, but it's really about how do we use these as rails? How does it empower a new collaborative open source and GitHub tool? How does it change the way the nature of data storage, data collection through the collection of cookies? How does it empower local businesses to be able to build a small business toolkit, start accepting money without necessarily needing to route those funds through a payment gateway like MasterCard and Visa, where they're cutting off 2.5%, 3%. So seeing that this has real traction with political leaders, economic leaders, and especially seeing the culture and the narrative shift away
Yeah.
from with things like the Genius Act, the Stable Act,
Yeah.
things that are on the desk of President Trump, where we're
Yeah.
seeing that this is about the American focus on what Web3, what blockchain values can bring to the globe,
Right.
and it's truly tremendous. It's profound to be on the ground floor, and me and the head of the Libertarian Party in Texas, we were laughing because we were saying, this almost it makes us feel like we could have been on in a similar situation in Silicon Valley maybe 20 years ago or 25, 30 years ago, where we're seeing the people that were competing in this hackathon, they could go on to form these titans of the industry, where we look around and we take the group photo that we always take, and you look and you go, you circle it, maybe we're on a Netflix documentary 25 years from now, where we go, there was where that company got formed, and there was where that company got formed, because the appetite is there, the technology is ready, the strategy of open sourcing it is I think the correct strategy, because it leverages the power of the most motivated developers, but it doesn't leverage it in a way where you give all of your effort and you get nothing in return, because the ability to incentivize this for developers through micropayments and through this innovative flexible payments technology, it means that they can actually give towards this moment in history where we're building these solutions that are gonna lead us away from this dystopian technocracy that we've gotten ourselves enmeshed into, that we've stepped into, and it's going to allow us to build our way out of it. And I think it's a uniquely American thing, an American way of approaching a problem.
It's beautiful, Brett. I mean, especially down in Austin, you're in the heart of America right now, and with the Stable Act, and that the Congress and these other states are they're embracing this technology right now. It's just, I mean, it's just such a game changer. It's so different than I mean, it's just completely different than I can imagine. It's way faster. I mean, all of a sudden, stable coins are cool. They're like welcome. All of a sudden, blockchain is super, not only cool, but it's becoming completely legal, and like it's becoming a part of Congress. It's going to be in an act. I mean, this isn't. And here you guys are down there in the front. We are at the very front of it, and like with the technology that scales, you know the fastest, the biggest, the bright, the best. I mean, of them all. And it's just a matter of time before people realize that as these products come out. So, I mean, yeah. What else can you leave us with here, Brett? That's just like that you're really taking away from this event. If there's a product or an idea that you just were excited about, or what else you can give us from this hackathon?
Yeah, sure. The thing that I'll leave you with, and the thing that I want to impart to everyone that's watching and tuning in, and I encourage you to like, subscribe to the channel, follow on the socials, and be a part of this movement that Gavin is spearheading with his channel, talking about relationship capital, talking about how to transform these from ideas into action. Because the thing is that when Gavin, we all lived through the past 5 years, we all saw what happens when things get tilted too far in a certain direction, and we see the lockdowns, and we see the nanny state, and we see the do's and don'ts of what you're allowed to talk about and stuff like this. And
Mm.
what we're seeing is that we're seeing the counter swing to that. We're seeing that it's not happening in any monolithic overarching sense. It's not coming from the top down. This is coming from the bottom up. This is coming from real innovators that are tired of getting what's the appropriate way to live their life shoved down their throat. And we're seeing that it's happening at the exact same time that a brand new technology is being made available to everyone that enables micropayments, that enables unique architecture, and that technology it's been hid in the shadows, and it's been hidden in the shadows because it represents a major threat to the controlling interests. And but you can't stop an idea whose time has come. And what we're seeing is that there's enough people, there's enough groundswell of support that are pushing. And again, going back to, we were talking about the chair of the Libertarian Party, we were joking and we were calling it, coopetition. And this is a coin that I think the BSVers are quite familiar with. But when he heard that term, he laughed and he said, I really love that. And it's like, it is this competitive nature where everyone at the hackathon was competing with each other. They're striving to win the money. They're trying to outcompete each other and build. But also what you saw was a stark reminder of how generous the community is, where you have the OGs. We had Brendan Lee, who flew in from Australia.
Oh, Brendan Lee flew there? Wow.
Yeah, he flew in and he showed up 5 hours late, and he joined a team of two guys that had never heard of BSV a week ago. And you know what? And it's like, and he led their, I mean, he didn't lead their team, but he was the expert on their team, but he let them lead. He didn't give them his idea. He encouraged their idea, so you have this next generation of developers that are coming up, this next generation of ideas. I think it's coming from the counter swing of that, overstepping that we saw, in the lockdowns. And what we're seeing now is that, yes, this has been hidden, and it's been hidden because of the threat that it represents to the monarchy of payments, that the payment gateways that have stepped in and sort of said what can and can't be said online and things like that. And what we're seeing is that we can build tools that connect with each other, and we can use payments tools that are fully legal, they're fully compliant. We can use languages that are understood and known by developers, 30-40 million developers. We can build with smart contracts, and the next wave, the next Google is out there somewhere, and it's going to come through the BSV pipeline because it's the only technology that can scale. It's the only technology that's nimble enough and modular enough to meet the demands and the flexibility of the developer community.
Wow. I mean, and so let me ask you just a final question here about this guy who won, and maybe you could kind of like leave us with his story. So he only heard about this 2 weeks ago. He must have come from some sort of another blockchain or cryptocurrency, I guess, and he'd never heard of the base layer of Bitcoin. It's been completely gone missing from him accordingly. So he just he thought Bitcoin was dead apparently, and so it didn't work. I mean, how did it work?
Yeah, I mean, and I understand, I relate with his story because, when I first heard about Bitcoin, I mean, I just thought it was money that, like a dollar. Like, what do you do with a dollar? Well, you don't do anything. I mean, you can make a paper airplane out of it, but that's about all you can do with it. You can't do anything unique or creative with it. And it just turns out that no, this isn't just money. It's actually programmable money.
Hey,
shout out to Raph right there. La Verde.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah. So he submitted, Raph submitted the next generation of HODLocker. So we were down here with Zero, whose real name is Juan. You can check out the YouTube channel of the full event to see the presentation that Raph gave. But it was really wonderful because it was about showing the value, the $523 $1.3 trillion value of proof of funds markets. That's all equities. That's all property purchases, everything that requires a proof of funds, and showing that what we have is the greatest escrow system on the planet in Bitcoin. And Raph is also he's the first to acknowledge and to congratulate his the real Bitcoiners that have survived all the psyops, the operations against this community, and have emerged, and are still pushing, that are still going stronger than ever. And but to go back to your original question with Ishan, so I relate with him because, it's not immediately apparent that just because it's money that it should be programmable, or that you should be able to build with it, or that it's, some sort of tool for technical development, but that's what it is. And so he was introduced to the technology 2 weeks ago by our friend Mitch Burnham, and of MetaWatt. And he just said, Mitch basically barged through my door and he said, I don't care what you're doing 2 weeks from now, you are coming to this event. I think he lives in New Mexico, if I remember correctly. And he just said, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm going to drive you to this event. You're coming with me and you're going to participate in it. And the guy said, like, he couldn't have been more overwhelmed with gratitude for support, the community, the Babbage tech stack, all the tools, the examples that were built out, all of the open source stuff that was being developed through the BSVA, that made his journey from someone that had no idea what this tooling could do 2 weeks ago to now he built something. And I heard this from the BSVA side, and this is coming from Darren Kellenschweller, so many of you know as Degan, that he said basically, like, we had to select him as the winner because this is he submitted a product that, it wouldn't just have won in a BSV hackathon. This could have won in a universal global developer open source hackathon. It was so valuable. And he said also that I've been waiting for 3 to 4 years for this to be built. This is a tool that we desperately need in this ecosystem because we can monetize future development using this new tool. And that also, that it's incorporated with all these, I'm going to say that it's, I'll borrow a quote from Degan where he said, sometimes they call it simplified payment verification. He said, I'd like to rename it convoluted payment verification, because, and he's the architect, right? Degan's the one that actually implemented this. So I'm not being disparaging to him, but he said, it's conceptually simple, but actually how it gets implemented in the technical sense, it ends up being sometimes convoluted. And this guy with no experience whatsoever, integrated it seamlessly, and he's like, the future is bright in the BSV developer world.
Yeah, thank you, Brett. That was freaking awesome, man. I mean, what a show. I appreciate it. Super exciting. I really, this is amazing to see this guy win like this. It's super inspirational to the next hackathon. So, all right, well then, just in closing, Brett, I'll pretty much wrap it right there. I just want to say thank you for coming on. If you want to just share just a brief closing thought, and after this, I'd like to just stop the recording and then start a new one. Maybe if you don't mind having Raphael come on, we'll do just a part 2 with him, and I'll stop and have him come on for a few minutes if that's okay, because you got a great connection and a great video right there. So,
absolutely.
Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, closing thoughts. I want to circle it back to the importance that you've the importance that you've meant to me as a mentor, Gavin. You're someone who I think, there's a quote that I really love where it says, no one can live the life of a great man. What we do is we live the life of a man, and we let history make its judgment, and I think that history will look at you, Gavin, as a great man. You're an inspiration to me. You're a mentor to me. You're someone that is pounding the table for all of these issues that we're talking about, that we're all so passionate about. I know that you would have been so thrilled to be here this weekend. Maybe the last thought, if I can leave you with something that we didn't cover that I wished we could have talked about, something that I covered because I did some media coverage of the weekend, and something I tried to ask every single participant was, can you describe the experience of being being at this event, and for someone that maybe has never been to one, the like juice that you feel in your veins about like seeing all these other people that care about these issues as much as you, that you don't have to explain to them about the fork, or you don't have to explain to them about all of these different intricate details that only our community really understands in depth. And overwhelmingly, the response was just that it's a feeling unlike anything else. You get so lifted up. It's something that we look forward to every single year. And now it looks like with Project Babbage stepping up and really, they hosted this event with $64,000 of their own money. Originally they announced that it was $55,000, and they've raised it at $9,000 at the end of the event. Literally, they went into deliberation as the judges. They said, guys, we couldn't pick only three. Like, we had to pick. They ended up picking, I think, seven. And so they added funds at the end just because the momentum that we're building out here, and you're just a huge part of it. You're someone that continues to spread the gospel and spread the message. And it's not just a message about the importance and value of BSV, because again, BSV is just a tool. What we're building is a more cohesive, constructive, a more accountable society where we're not being inundated by spammers. We're not being innovated by scammers. What we're doing is we're building reputational collateral, reputational relational capital with each other. And and this is just the stepping stone. I mean, we're just talking about the bottom step. We need this step of Bitcoin, BSV, immutable truth. We need that in place, and only then can we start to go to the places that society wants to take us to. Who knows? That could be Mars in 40 years, or it could be Mars in 400 years, or it could be some other thing that, the best part is that, these systems enable the creativity, the ingenuity, and the human potential to breathe life into the community aspect, into the world.
Thank
So
you,
I want to
Brett.
say thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and thank you for the very, very kind words and compliment. And it is all about the relationship capital. So, go out and enjoy the rest of that with your friends down there, and make some relationship capital. Everyone else, be sure to hit the ones to like, subscribe, and I will see you at the top next time, Brett. All right.